Delivering more college football content than anybody, anywhere. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. All right. What a Wednesday. Don't know if I'm ready for this. Somebody's going to have to nudge me every so often tonight. Keep me awake. All right. We're going to be here for like the next 12 hours talking college football. 12 hours minimum. Talking college football with all of you. It's a week one, of course. All right. The college football show. The college football show. Yes, we are being arrogant when we state that. That's fine. The college football show. No, not necessarily the best, but it's the one of its kind. One of its kind that involves and delivers my takes, my rants, my perspective, your perspective through your comments and questions, and of course, your calls here at the Voice of College Football. And certainly the best guest list that we can possibly put together. We are on the eve of week one. We've got a big Thursday planned here at the Voice of College Football, but we'll run down Wednesday first as I am scrambling to get everything together and get everyone here the link to call in. We wanted to get our studio set up in much better shape before college football kicked off, but that goal was not reached. Most goals are not reached if you're ambitious. Learn that in life, that failure is not necessarily a bad thing because you typically fail much more than you succeed if you're trying, if you are doing your damnedest to do something in this life. Michael Jordan missed more shots than he made. All right. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Let's set you up for Wednesday. Keep in mind the Amazon links in the description section of all the videos. It's your one way, folks. It's Wake Up College Football, by the way. So I just thought I would do that. One way that you can contribute here at the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. There's one way you can do it. Please use the Amazon link and don't hold that against me. Just a lot of pent up energy today, I guess. All right. Don't think I'll be screaming like that in 12 hours. I don't think that'll happen. Maybe it will. I usually have a second and third and fourth gear. If you followed me for a long time, I don't know anyone else who does 24-hour live streams solo. So here's the deal. On Wednesday, this is Wednesday, we've got the Buckeye Show at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have Florida State live at 6, Miami at 7, Michigan at 8. No, Michigan's not on Tuesday. We've got Florida State at 6, Miami at 7. Oh, I'm on live with Zach Smith at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And then we've got a Clemson, Georgia live preview special. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. That's on the Georgia and Clemson channels. And we've got Jason Priester from Clemson Insider. We hope to have some of our other Clemson guys stop by. And then we've got... I'm going to have to throw this invite out to some other Georgia folks. We got Uncle Lou stopping by. That'll be great. 9 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, Georgia Clemson, big special. And then I've got a very truncated sleep schedule because who knows when I'll get to sleep. It's usually 2 or 3 in the morning. But at 5 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, we start our 24-hour live stream. So here's the deal with that. 24-hour live stream starts at 5 a.m. on Thursday. However, there's a few conditions there. Number one would be Steve Merrill and I get together every Thursday during the college football season, and that is top priority. That dude delivers like nobody else. So he is given carte blanche. I show up when he can show up because he's got a tighter schedule than me. Believe that. So at whatever time he needs to record on Thursday, I'm stepping off. We have done our best to get fill-in hosts, but I don't believe we have those for Thursday. So nobody has responded to our request for fill-in hosts that we've had in the past that has relieved me for 4 or 5 hours. I've only had to work 19 or 20 hours the last 3 24-hour marathons to start the college football season, but it's all on me until the end. Matt Zemek, thank you so much. Matt Zemek is going to shut it down late night. So here's the deal. 5 a.m. Eastern Time. Might be 5:02, might be 5:13, might be 5:23. I am not going to If anybody makes any kind of statement in the chat about me being late for a 5 a.m. Eastern time, they will be banned from the channel for a year. I'm somewhat kidding. I am kidding. We don't block people here at the Voice of College Football unless you are just a completely obscene moron. We have blocked very few people, and never about college football. Trash talk everybody here. Trash talk every team. We don't care. Go to any channel here at the Voice of College Football and trash talk. That's fine. But in regards to, yeah, I will not be too tolerant of anybody who is complaining about this. This annoys me beyond, well, there's a few other things that annoy me more than this. But like we go on the Iowa show yesterday, Corey and I, we delivered this Iowa show. We've done it 161 freaking weeks in a row. And we've got some idiot in the chat who's complaining because we're 3 minutes late. Yeah, I would love to take that guy behind the woodshed and slap him around a few times. You moron. It's free, you idiot. Okay. So we will be here at, I hope I'm going to be here at 5 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday. But we'll probably set the alarm for 4:50. So we're going to make that as tight as possible. So probably at 4:50 will the alarm go off. And yeah, I will do my best for 5 a.m. Eastern time on a Thursday. Now, here's the deal. We got to stop to record for Steve Merrill. That's going to be sometime around 1 or 1:30. That'll take about a half hour. If we get a fill-in host, great. If we don't, then we will stop down the record and we will be back with our live stream in 30 to 45 minutes. And then also we are going to respond to your contributions in this way. There's football on Thursday night, and typically I've had somebody that's been able to carry us through the football games. I'm not missing 1 second of football on Thursday. So what we're going to do is one of two things. Either we're going to hit a contribution level and we'll carry it on through the football games. And I'll just be watching the football games, and we will continue our call-in show and carry it through the day and do the football games on Thursday night. Or we'll say, you know what? We'll see you after the games. And so that is up to you. That is up to all of you. So we do appreciate and always understand that. More than anything, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Minnesota, North Carolina. If I could only watch one game on Thursday night, that's obviously the one to watch. I know a lot of people will check out primetime. Deion Sanders. Somebody thanked me the other day for not calling him primetime, but it just came out that time. I don't do that in any kind of spiteful way. I just have always called him by his name. His name's Deion Sanders. So that's typically what I call him, but I call people by their nickname at times. Yeah, we got a really good Miami show coming up now that I see the Gators helmet. So David Waters, Gators Breakdown, we recorded on Tuesday. Check that out. It's on the Florida channel. David Waters, he's the best. Gators Breakdown. So we sized up Miami and Florida, and I just don't get the vitriol against Florida. Don't dump on Florida until they actually lose the games. But if you would look at these two teams, the trajectory or the hype or the outlook surrounding these two teams, Miami and Florida, it astounds me, and I understand it. All it has to do with is the schedule. If Florida had Miami's schedule, then they'd be a contender in the ACC. And if Miami had Florida's schedule, we'd be talking about Mario Cristobal getting fired at the end of the year. So just consider they're two fairly evenly matched football teams playing at Florida on Saturday afternoon. Well, playing on Thursday night on Fox, of course, is Minnesota and North Carolina. And that is the second of a home and home. We got Daniel House here from Gopher Guru to help us break it all down. Daniel, it's finally game week. How you doing?
It's game week. We can finally start talking about football, which is exciting. All the off-season talk's over, and now you're going to have something to talk about on the morning shows here.
Absolutely. It's going to be almost impossible to not extend the morning show to a zillion hours all day because there's going to be football all over the place. But that's a good problem. It's like the problem I have on Saturday trying to figure out my viewing schedule because there's typically 5, 6, 7 games in a window that I want to watch. So it's tough to narrow it down to 2 or 3. I can only focus on 2 games at the same time. I always have a third screen on, but it doesn't get much love because I've got a small attention span there. So Daniel, appreciate you being here. Everybody check out Gophers Guru and also Daniel, of course, all over the Minnesota Vikings. So what's available there concerning the Vikings, and who do the Vikings play in week 1?
Vikings got the New York Giants in week 1, so that'll be a fun matchup out east. And then now with roster cuts, I put out yesterday a list of guys that maybe could be of help in rounding out the roster. I think now you look at the NFL, it's just the initial 53-man roster is the key word because there's so much movement with the practice squad and people strategizing that guys are moving all over the place. So I'm trying to keep tabs on that, being a college football guy, able to see a lot of players. So I think that helps kind of build into the NFL, especially during the draft. So this is kind of a fun time of year for me.
So the most important personnel note concerning Minnesota, North Carolina that I came across this week is that the status of Darius Taylor and Daniel Jackson is somewhat in question. What do we know there? Don't
have any details yet. PJ Fleck said that the injury report will come out 2 hours before the game. So that's when we'll have a sense of who's available. Daniel Jackson, when we were there we had about 3 practices open. Daniel Jackson, toward the end of those practice sessions, was limited in some capacity. Fleck didn't seem too concerned about it. Darius Taylor, basically, it sounds like, he's good to go, but we'll see when the injury report comes out. I would guess that, we'll see if, Fleck's going to have to hold him out. If he's not quite ready to play, do you hold him out with the idea that you got a couple of non-conference games coming up and get him ready for the Big Ten slate? We'll just kind of see where he's at. Fleck will definitely probably try to hold him out if he's not quite ready to play. They're not going to rush him, but we'll see.
Now, in regards to the running back room at Minnesota, it's been quite impressive to me and others how they've been able to bring guys off the bench and just continue to reload when there's injury and other situations, typically injury there. What do we feel about, of course, Marcus Major comes in from Oklahoma. You've got the Michigan State transfer that we saw play significant time in East Lansing, Jared Mangum, and a few other options there at running back.
Yeah, the Gophers emphasize the running back room, especially with all the injuries that they had, their style of play. They want to have a deep running back room. They can turn to different options. And Marcus Major has been someone that really stood out during camp. A lot of positive feedback from the coaches on what he's been able to bring, that one-cut rushing style, downhill runner, very physical, falls forward for yardage, fits the zone scheme well, has good vision, compress the hole, and make things happen. I think that the health factor is going to be the biggest thing there. Can he stay healthy for the duration of the season? They also brought in Sia Bangura from Ohio, who's, I believe, MAC freshman of the year as a freshman. And then last year continued to play, saw some action. I think that, pad level for him is going to be a big thing, running low, getting used to, the schemes that he's going to be playing in Minnesota's offense. So we'll see how he adjusts. You mentioned Jaron Mangum. He's there as well. Physical, big. He's a bigger back, so he gives them another dimension in that sense. And then Jordan Newman's back as well, outside zone specialist. He really loves the mid and outside zone and can really hit those cutbacks. So they have a lot of different running backs that they can turn to based on, style of play and what type of matchup they have that week. And then carry distribution. We'll kind of see how Fleck handles that. Does he divide the carries up a little bit more, or is it concentrated, up into the top?
Daniel House, Gophers Guru. It's gophersguru.com. There you see where to follow Daniel on X and also Gophers Guru on X. So we touched upon the Daniel Jackson uncertainty. The wide receiver room is in question, maybe the biggest uncertainty on the team from a unit standpoint. Who could possibly need to step up there?
That's the key position group. You got to find somebody that can step up behind Daniel Jackson. You need a couple of different options. Elijah Spencer last year joined the team as a transfer from Charlotte. They're looking for him to take a big step forward and be consistent. You got Lemeki Brockington, who is a very strong run blocker, has made some strides as a route runner. It sounds like this offseason the coaches are pleased with the progress that he's made. And then also you look at potentially Christian Driver, son of Donald Driver, transfer from Penn State, gives him some suddenness and juice out of the slot, potentially some yards after the catch ability. So I'd say like you need to get 2 or 3 wide receivers to step up behind Daniel Jackson. So maybe the schematic pressure is taken off and you can spread the ball around more. I think the tight end could be involved. Jamison Gears, someone that they're excited about, a bigger target who moves well, good route runner, can make plays and align from different spots to get you into different formations. So keep an eye on Jamison Gears as potentially maybe being more involved in the passing game as an option, and the running backs too. I think that was something that I took a lot of note from through camp, through coaches talking at press conferences, trying to get the backs more involved in the pass game. And that's something that transfer quarterback Max Brosmer talked about a lot, having those outlets and ability to check down, go through the progression and find the back. I think that's something that was a strength in his game at New Hampshire. And now he wants to, apply that here, be able to, get 5 yards on first down. Then that opens up a lot of possibilities on second down. Your play calling predictability goes in a different direction. So that's what I think is something to watch, just how they distribute the football, who gets passes. Maybe the tight ends and the running backs are more incorporated, but you're going to need a couple of receivers to step up behind Daniel Jackson.
So the quarterback domino shuffle that continues across the nation as it's connected to Minnesota's, of course, Ethan Kalkumanis moving to Rutgers, and then he kicks Gavin Wimsatt into a backup role at Kentucky. You mentioned Brosmer coming in as, I believe he won the Walter Payton Award as the Heisman winner in the FCS level. But in evaluating Kalkumanis versus Brosmer, and I got to think that regardless of the level of play on the field, that they just by accident will throw for more yardage and have better passing statistics, I would think, than they had under Kalkumanis. I think 53%, under 2,000 yards passing. But when you watch these guys on tape, where's the upgrade, or what are the comparisons between Brosmer and Kalkumanis?
I'd say field vision side of it. So being able to see zone droppers, coverage picture changes, processing, being able to be accurate with the football and find options downfield, go through the progression. I think last year there's maybe some stuff out there in games that wasn't quite executed, whether that's ball placement, whether that's, route running, whether it's a drop pass, whether that's the pace of the throw. I think that was something last year that got them into trouble, intermediate passes, you can't throw rockets. You got to be able to pace it into the window and change the trajectory of your throws. I think that's going to be something that Brosmer has to get used to here, where like the speed of the game is so much faster. The athletes are outstanding going from FCS to the Power Four. So how you throw the football is a little different. How you shape it, the timing, throwing into the windows, the processing and that type of thing is going to be the same. It's just going to be how does he adjust to the speed of this of football at this level. And I think the first game's a huge challenge, Mark, because Jeff Collins' defense, he's called the Minister of Mayhem for a reason. Like, this guy brings a lot of pressure from different spots. You'll get corners, you'll get nickels, you'll get linebackers, you'll get safeties. It's dashing the pressure all over the defense, disguising coverage. And he had a whole year here where he wasn't coaching to just sit and study some things and dial stuff up. They've got a good front seven. Feel like the cornerback room, they got 2 guys on the outside that are solid, Elijah Hussey and Nickel going outside. That matchup, the first game, that's a tough scheme. You already have a lot of unknown. You're scheming for ghosts in a sense, where like you're trying to figure out what each team's going to do. Minnesota will have some wrinkles too, but to have this scheme be the first one you go against, that's a big challenge.
Yeah. Also, we've got an offensive line at Minnesota that during this run by PJ, once he got it rolling there, and of course everybody points to 2019, but the offensive lines that they produced there for 2 to 3 seasons were among the best in the nation. Ton of experience, high performers, a first round selection at center in particular, then underperformed last year. Do we think that this offensive line will bounce back in 2024?
Well, there's a lot of returning talent on the offensive line. It's probably the strength of that side of the ball. When you look at Ariante Ursary on the left side, potential guy who could go in the first round with a really good season here. He's super athletic, Really good in the run game. I don't think he gets enough credit there. You look at left guard, Tyler Cooper, who emerged last year, someone that will be a solid player at left guard. Center, Greg Johnson, he was playing at left guard last year, a little bit on a rotational basis. He's going to take over at center, so they're going to have him in action for the first time snapping the ball, so keep an eye on that. Right guard, sounds like Quinn Carroll, the right tackle, is going to kick inside, which I think is a good move for him. I think he's going to do really well there based on his skill set and his strengths. And then the right tackle spot, we'll see. Is it Philip Daniels? Is it Martez Lewis? Is it a combination of both? They're kind of competing. We're competing during camp and determining what was the best lineup combination. So they have a lot of options. I think like their starting lineup strong. I think if somebody were to get hurt, it's like what's going to happen at center, who's going to come in, in that role. I guess the offensive line, though, from a starting standpoint, I think it's going to be the strength of the team, which is what you want.
So we got a matchup once again against North Carolina, and this team has had a lot of fanfare going into each season under Mac Brown. Much of that has to do with, first of all, his comeback to North Carolina, and then it had to do with the quarterback position with Sam Howell, of course, and Drake May, and the complementary of close to elite weapons that they've had on offense and just the prolific style of the offense. A lot of talent recruited to the defense that hasn't necessarily performed. I would say that this is the first year that North Carolina's kind of discarded and not pushed, somewhat pushed to the side in regards to expectations. Max Johnson at quarterback, Omarion Hampton could be the best running back in college football. What do you see when you look at the Heels?
I look at their team and I see, some question marks on the offensive line, trying to figure out what that looks like. Willie Lamp in the right guard's only returning starter on the offensive line. So they're trying to figure out exactly what the combinations look like there. So I think that's something to watch. If Minnesota can get North Carolina into passing down situations, be able to move people around and create some mismatches, do some things from a pressure standpoint. I look at quarterback. I'm guessing they're going to play two quarterbacks. You see a little bit of Max Johnson. You'll see Connor Harrell come in maybe in a zone read, quarterback run type of component. Try to do some different things, make Minnesota at least prepare for both skill sets. And I think that's something to watch for in the game. You mentioned Omarion Hampton, dynamic back. I think they got a good running back room. Caleb Hood coming back, Darwin Barlow, a transfer from USC. They got a freshman they like as well. I know that could potentially work his way in. I look at their wide receiver room. A mix of different skill sets in there and some versatility. And then you add in the tight end, Nesbitt, who can move around and go to different alignments and has good movement skills and body control in the red zone. I'm watching Jordan Shipp, too, true freshman wide receiver. I really liked him during the recruiting process. 4-star player, I think, could come in and make a big impact on that side of the ball. But defensively, man, I think this team, North Carolina, I think their defensive line is going to be the strength of the team. You got Rucker coming back. He's going to be one of the best pass rushers in the country. But you look at that interior, that defensive line, they got a lot of different skill sets they can mix and match. Josh Harris, a transfer from Ole Miss, is acclimated really well, it sounds like. But you got Travis Shy, you got Kevin Hester, you got Ritzy in there. Like all these different guys that you can mix and match. And then on the edge side, I'd say Bo Atkinson, young pass rusher. I think this guy is going to emerge this season and have a really strong campaign. Keep an eye on him. And then in the secondary, looking at it, I think, Elijah Huzzy kicking outside, having him and Marcus Allen out there, I think that's going to be a really good duo at the cornerback spot. Caleb Koss is probably going to handle that star position in the defense, and maybe DeAndre Hopkins, Boykins, who missed last season, he can kick back to the back end. I'm kind of curious to see how they mix and match the personnel in the cornerback room. But Marcus Allen, he got stronger this offseason. I'm curious to see what he looks like with another year of development. But they got a lot of good defensive personnel, particularly in that front seven. I think safety depth, linebacker depth, those are going to be the two keys for them overall. But Minnesota's going to have their hands full with this scheme, like I said.
Daniel, what is it with Fox featuring Minnesota on the opening Thursday night? There was the Ohio State game at home, in which they played well until they lost it in the fourth quarter. They, of course, won a nail-biter against Nebraska on a late field goal, and then they come back on a Thursday night here against North Carolina, trying to avenge a loss from last season. But it's a good spotlight for the program, because if you're going to watch college football on Thursday night, you're most likely going to watch Minnesota.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's due to the Minnesota State Fair. The Gophers play on Thursday night, so every year they tend to kind of have a strong matchup in the first game, and it's a good slot for national TV. So, like the State Fair is the big thing up here in Minnesota. Like if you've never been to the Minnesota State Fair, you haven't experienced it. It's a unique event that everybody gets excited about, and it's near campus. So, like this first week, they have a shuttle that comes from the State Fair, and you can't do it because the State Fair is just packed. Like there's 138,000 people there on day one of the fair. I mean, it's a big deal. So that's kind of shapes the schedule. Minnesota doesn't play that. They play Thursday instead of on the weekend due to the fair.
Well, Daniel, please forgive me, but I've never been to Minnesota, period. I think it's maybe one of the final 15 states or so that I haven't been to. So I'm going to have to make it up there at some point.
You got to make it up for a game. You know, I'll show you around. We'll give you the experience, show you what it's like. It's a great stadium to watch a game. I think people appreciate Minnesota when they come up as kind of an underrated spot to watch football. It's a cool setting there.
Very nice. Daniel House of Gophers Guru. Daniel, of course, we'd like for you to highlight what's available there at Gophers Guru, both for, of course, what you've got offered to Minnesota football fans on the college level and the NFL.
Yeah, on gophersguru.com, tons of content, two-part series previewing the offense and the defense matchups to watch, personnel, keys to the game. You can check that out there. And then a ton of features this offseason. You want to learn about every player. I got a lot of different stories written where delving inside the offseason improvements that they made and things that they're looking to do this season. So you can check that out. There's like a link on my profile with like 37 different pieces for you to read before the game to get yourself up to speed, off-season studies, and then stuff around the Big Ten too, the transfer portal series. I wrote about my favorite transfers for each Big Ten program. So $5 a month gets you access to the content over on gophersguru.com.
We always go to Daniel. He's our source on Minnesota football. Daniel, we appreciate you stopping by. Enjoy a big weekend of football.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
Great stuff from Daniel. As always, appreciate everyone being here, the voice of college football. And we see, as usual, our guys like John and Joey and Jackson stepping up, doing a great job in the chat. Thank you so much, John, for being here. And what John's done at the Michigan channel is remarkable. So we thank John so much for what he has done again at the Michigan channel at the Voice of College Football. They go live every Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Jackson, great job on the social media and everything involved here at the Voice of College Football. Joey is running the West Virginia channel. Get on over there. Of course, the Mountaineers have a huge game against Penn State, and Joey forecasted yesterday 10 wins for sure, maybe 11. That's how I heard it from Joey, which I didn't quite understand because I think he said we're picking West Virginia to go 9-3, but they're going to go 10-2 and maybe 11-1. So I didn't know how to interpret that, but basically Joey's got high hopes for the Mountaineers this year. I would love to see it. Let's get West Virginia a 3 seed in the playoffs. A lot of Big Ten teams and SEC teams would like to see West Virginia with the 3 seed in the playoffs, I believe. All right. I'm going to bring my own personal issues here for a quick second, because this what happens is I've always just had cable. That's all there is to it. I've looked into satellite. I just get annoyed with trying to figure out, okay, this streaming service, that streaming service, can I save $12 here or this or that? So I just stayed with the cable, always stayed with the cable. Well, I just moved in March. So I know it's August now, but I don't miss cable, don't care. I can watch anything I want online. All I watch pretty much is old TV, and I watch like classic TV. I love, not that I'm sitting there watching Happy Days every day, but you know what I mean? I've got an affinity for classic TV, which has kind of waned here because I haven't been able to access it. But basically, I listen to political podcasts. I watch Elvis. That's pretty much I watch spiritual programming, political programming. I watch Elvis. I'm good to go. I got plenty on the internet. YouTube takes care of it. But we got a football season now. So I have not made the move in regards to cable. If you got a suggestion in regards to streaming that is just as effective. I basically just want to be able to access every college football game, every one. I want the ACC network. I want the SEC. The Pac-12, don't have to worry about that anymore. Of course, the Big Ten network. I want ESPNU, everything. I want the NFL network. Not huge into the NFL anymore, but I would like the NFL network. It would be good if I had the Major League Baseball network, even though I haven't watched 1 second of Major League Baseball this year. It's just kind of maybe comforting to have that as well, but not important because I won't watch it. But any suggestions out there? And I know you guys are going to try to save me a buck or two and recommend some kind of pirating situation. No, I don't want anything that I've got to have 17 codes for or try to find, or that's going to get taken down or blocked, or that's got a fuzzy picture. No. Just, I want the clearest network broadcast we can find. So if you've got any options out there, I would rather not get ripped off by cable anymore. But if that's the decision I make, obviously I got to pull the trigger sometime today to get that done. Or you may see me make a phone call during the 24-hour live stream on Thursday. So what do we got here in the chat? Anybody stepping up with a suggestion here? YouTube TV, heard that. Wow, the Rod Farva coming back with that. Look at this. Brano 2 times. Same thing. Double O'Neill says Hulu. Hulu way better. Well, the Fonz was awesome. Yes. I like Happy Days. Hulu. Cable is cheeks. Okay. YouTube TV can watch 4 games at once. Well, that's attractive. Fubo's the worst. All right. Well, it sounds like I'm going to go the options that I anticipated. The pretty standard stuff, either Hulu or YouTube TV. I'll try those first. Those are going to be my first searches there. Hulu, YouTube TV. I start there before I go to, I've got AT&T for Wi-Fi. I could have went with Spectrum. Spectrum is the cable service around here. And my experience with Spectrum in Ohio was that Spectrum was fine. The service was the service of the feed was fine, clear, had no issues with it, ran all the time. But if there was any kind of customer service situation in terms of hooking something up, transferring something, brain dead, like across the board. Not one person, 2 people. I think it's like some kind of virus they have in the company. So I don't believe after that statement we'll be receiving a promo opportunity or a sponsorship from Spectrum. But that was my great service. Again, it was always, I had one audio issue one time. I had an audio issue that lasted a couple weeks. But other than that, Connecticut and Ohio Spectrum, perfectly fine. That's also the service down here where I am right now. So yeah, so that will be the last ditch effort. Amazon Prime to watch football. So you're talking about Thursday night football. It's funny how slow I am to respond to these things, because I got to tell you, although I am the voice of college football, I got to say, when it was down to watching Navy and Tulsa on a Thursday night or watching the Jags and the Panthers, I'm watching the Jags and the Panthers. So once they started Thursday night football, whenever that was, 5 to 10 years ago, I'm always watching the NFL game. Always watching the NFL game. But as soon as it went to Amazon, this is how my mind works. It's gone. It does not exist. I would have no idea. Even the second or third season. What are we into? The third season, possibly? So through 2 football seasons, I'm still like, I don't even know that the NFL is playing on Thursday night because it's off my radar. I can't access it. It's gone. Doesn't exist. And the Thursday night college football offerings have been much better in recent years. Not just a bunch of Conference USA and American Conference games. Much better, more Power 5 games on Thursday nights the last few years. And there was always that NC State, Wake Forest kind of game on Thursday nights. The ACC, I believe they were the first to step up and say, we'll take Thursday nights. A lot of ESPN, mid-level ACC, Virginia, Georgia Tech games throughout the years going back to the 90s on Thursday night. Always loved the Thursday night games. But once the NFL started up, I was gone. Now, if there was an NFL game that I could access on Thursday night, last season was funny because they would hit 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, and I wouldn't even think about the NFL being on. And that was like the most important time slot of my entire week. Used to be 1 o'clock on Sunday. Better be in front of a TV. 1 o'clock Sunday. Now it goes right by me, and I realize at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, oh yeah, there are NFL games on. I asked Daniel House the question, who do the Vikings play in week 1? Well, if this was 10 years ago, I wouldn't have to ask him who the Vikings play in week 1. I would know. I don't even know who plays quarterback for the Vikings. They got rid of Kirk Cousins, correct? I believe. My favorite Kirk Cousins, well, I got to backtrack here. I was going to say my favorite Kirk Cousins line, although I've heard him deliver some exceptional lines from a spiritual nature. So set those to the side. My favorite Kirk Cousins football line was after his first game in the NFL. He had a really good debut. I think he actually led a comeback or a last-minute drive down the field to score the game-winning touchdown. And he was asked, were you nervous? Were you pumped? Were you hyped? Were you skittish? Were the butterflies churning? Were you intimidated in any way? He said, no, it wasn't a big deal. I played in the Big Ten. Love that line. Loved it. Loved it. And then Kirk Cousins also has that famous viral clip that I can't recall exactly what happened. It was right after the game. He's coming down the tunnel and he yells something at somebody. I'm sure somebody will remember that. I don't know why we're talking about Kirk Cousins. He did play college football at one time at Michigan State. Speaking of what are probably going to be viral clips, I saw Marcus Freeman. Notre Dame fans, listen up. Your coach doesn't know how to manage a game, apparently. I saw Marcus Freeman on somebody's show. I've never seen this individual before, but let me know if you've seen this from this week. I believe it was from this week. I just caught it yesterday for the first time. Marcus Freeman's on somebody's show. Again, I have no idea who this guy is. I saw his name, and I even saw the company he's with. But for him to get a Marcus Freeman interview, which is typically difficult to do, to get a major college football coach, he's interviewing Marcus Freeman, and he's asking him, I thought this was very gutsy of him. I enjoyed this, that he was challenging him. Maybe it was a series of strategic questions, but on this particular question that turned into a viral clip, he was asking him, okay, coach, 3 minutes left on the clock. You're down 14. You score a touchdown. Do you go for 2 or do you kick the extra point? Go. Okay. I want to know what the chat says because it seems pretty obvious what you would do, right? Yes, David, the NFL's king. It's not even close. Yes, and it widens all the time. Aaron says it's race day. I don't know if that's horse racing or what's going on. Okay. Somebody's an exception. I don't know who that is. Anyway, I'm looking for answers on our 2-point conversion versus kicking the extra point. If you're into that sort of thing, football strategy. Once again, the situation is you're down by 14 points. You're driving. You score the touchdown with 3 minutes left in the game. What do? Do you kick the extra point You go for 2. I had not seen the analytics on this. Nobody's answering my question. I thought you guys would be into football strategy. So I always thought that, so the analytics are obviously smart. That doesn't mean they're perfect, because the analytics, from what I understand, don't know who's on the field. They just know situations. They just know math and situations. They don't know, is Tom Brady the quarterback, or is Ethan Kalkamanis your quarterback? How good's the defense? Who's injured? Who's this? Who's that? Did you come back from 28-0 down, or did you blow a 28-0 lead? Any of those things. The analytics don't know any of that. However, the analytics are typically correct. And, okay, David says kick. Joey says we all answered. Sean says kick. Wow, I thought you guys were better than this. Double O'Neill says kick. Jackson, thank you so much for letting everyone know. Michigan podcast, I'm on it yesterday, as I typically am. Kick it normally. Wow. Okay. Now, everything you guys are saying, you don't go for 2 down 14. Okay. Kick the extra point. Wow. This is almost like gambling. They say don't listen to the public. The public are morons. You guys aren't morons, because I would have answered the same thing 3 or 4 years ago until I thought about it. And then I got in touch with the analytics, and it proves the point. I think this is pretty understandable. So here's the deal. We've got a consensus for kicking the extra point. Marcus Freeman said kick the extra point, and the host went berserk on him and basically said, Coach, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. And he is. Because it seems rather obvious. Okay, you're down by 2 touchdowns. You don't want to risk losing the game because you went for 2 and didn't get it, right? So you got to kick the extra point to get you within 7. Then you score another touchdown. You tie the game again. Okay, there's a number of things wrong with this. Think this through. And I remember there was a game a couple years ago where there was this situation, and I thought, you know what? No, wait a minute. And this is before I heard the analytics. I thought, no, you go for 2. Let's think through the percentages here. First of all, if you go for 2 and you make it, then the next time you score the touchdown, kick the extra point, you win the game. Okay? This is pretty easy to understand. Okay. If you miss the 2-point conversion, you are now still down by 8. Therefore, what do you have the opportunity to do? You have to score 2 touchdowns regardless. So it's a situation where there are no other options. You have to score 2 touchdowns. So on the first touchdown, you go for 2. If you get it, you're in great shape because you get the ball back. You score the second touchdown. You just kick the extra point. You win the game. Okay. If you don't get the 2, you're still down 8. Score the touchdown. You got to go for 2. Bingo. Okay. Point number 2 is that, so the counterpoint to that is obviously, it's risky 2-point conversion, which a college kicker probably makes 97 to 98% of the extra points. But these 2-point conversions have become, your best 2-point conversion play has become a well over 50% proposition. And again, this is also understanding how good is your quarterback, how good's your offense, all that business. But all things being equal, think about this. All you're doing by kicking extra points is getting to overtime. You have no chance of winning the game in regulation. So you've gone from having, you got to score 2 touchdowns. So if you don't score the touchdowns, you're not winning the game anyway. So forget that option. But if you score the 2 touchdowns, you have a better than 50% chance, because all you have to do is get one of the 2 extra 2-point conversions to win the game. You just got to get one, and the success rate is over 50%. Therefore, you can win the game in regulation. You have a more than 50% chance if you score 2 touchdowns, substantially better than 50% chance of winning the game in regulation, not even counting overtime. Whereas if you just kick 2 extra points, you can't win the game in regulation. And then what are the possibilities or probabilities that you go to overtime and win the game? Well, all things being equal, 50%. It's 0-0 then. You go to overtime, it's 0-0. So all you're doing is guaranteeing that you're going to get to a situation where your probability of winning is 50%, as opposed to having the probabilities on your side that you can win the game in regulation without ever going to overtime. And even if you don't get one of those 2-point conversions, you still go to overtime with a 50% chance of winning. So when you go through the process logically and understand the probabilities, the answer is you go for the 2-point conversion. And we've seen this in recent years with coaches, where in the past, coaches are conservative by nature. They don't like to look bad. They don't want to look bad. That's why they do stupid things like Herman Edwards used to do in trying to manage a football game. He was one of the worst, probably the worst in the history of the NFL that I've ever seen. Some of the things that, and I've got great respect for Herman Edwards because he's a great motivator, seems to be a great man. I can't vouch for him, but he seems to be a great man. But when it comes to game strategy, I'm not going to take the time to run down what he did one time in Pittsburgh during the playoffs. That was just brain dead. But we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Typically, we can extend these shows based on your contributions and support. So we are here for 1 hour every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you would like us to go for longer than an hour, because we'll certainly have a lot to talk about once the games kick off, we would love to be here past an hour, but that's up to you based on your contributions. However, today, Wednesday, we've got the 11 a.m. Eastern Time Buckeye Show, but join us at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. I don't know what I'm going to look like. Don't know what I'm going to sound like. Don't know what I'm going to say. Don't know if I'm going to be looking at my bank account or what we're going to be doing, maybe answering emails or something. I don't know what I'm going to be doing at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. So you're going to have to call and keep me awake at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. But that's on Thursday. And again, we will lay out the rules of the 24-hour live stream. Again, once again, it's a big Wednesday here at the Voice of College Football. We got Buckeyes live at 11, FSU live at 6, Miami live at 7. At 8, I'm going to be right here talking to Zach Smith live with you at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We got the big Georgia Clemson live stream at 9 Eastern. All right. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you in 5 minutes. College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace, and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.